Okay, so you at the point in your pregnancy and you have been discarded, aka simply abandoned. Right now during this time, you probably feeling like, damn, what did I do to deserve this? I need you to understand something. You're not responsible for anybody else's actions, especially for a man who's going to do that to you at your most vulnerable point. But listen to me and understand. This is the caveat for you to be able to shift to your highest timeline and to remove that. Because everything that's removed out of your life is not a part of your alignment. God is showing you something. And when God shows you something, it's time to wake up. Are you familiar with the story of Lot's wife? All right, let me tell y'all. Let me get my baby some Cheetos. Cheese puffs. But let me tell y'all why I love the story of Lot's wife. So God, when I was in my relationship, I was, like I said, I was engaged, right? Once upon a time. And I had all my children by the same person. And I remember intentionally feeling like, okay, before I decide to go ahead and tie this knot, let me pray that this continues to get better. Let me just sit here and let it build a little bit more. Let let him get himself together more. Let me help him become the man that I need for me. But listen, understand, as a woman, that's not your job. And when you realize that's not your job and you're doing something that's out of alignment, then God is going to continue to show you that. And like I said, you can't control nobody. You can't tell anybody what to do, especially a man. He has to do that on his own. Either he can rise to the occasion or you move along and you find something that's better for you. How about this? Don't go looking, because God will send it. And when I say send it, I mean very soon. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about my story. So like I said, once upon a time, I was engaged. I decided to leave that because I was trying to force therapy and A, B, C, and D and the illusion of things getting better. I was in love and infatuated with the idea of the man I wanted that person to become. And I had to sit with myself really at the point to where I realized God allowed me to be able to get out of that and to move and to shift into a higher timeline for the woman that I was supposed to become, for the woman that was supposed to align with the right that I had to show up in the world. Because when I was in that, I was not able to be the vessel and the divine woman that God called me to be. I was simply only being a token. What did the token look like? The token looks like the woman that's there just to look like she's perfect, just to look like the pretty thing on your arm, just to look like a servant, just to look like you're submissive. But guess what? That's not a divine woman of God, right? That might be, but for your calling and for the women that I'm talking to, you're much greater than that. And a lot of women get caught up in that illusion of having the charm of a ring or having the charm of being married. Not saying that I speak down on it, but that has to be with the right person for the divine masculine to align with you as their woman. Certain women, any man just can't come around here. It ain't gonna happen because it's gonna take a real, it's gonna take a real one. It's just like that. Simple. So, but I played small. I really did play small. And once I realized that about myself, I said, hey, I'm tired of accepting this. I'm tired of settling. Do you know who you are? Do you remember who you are? But once you remember who you are, that's at the time that you pivot. But back to my point. So, once you realize that you have been abandoned while you're pregnant, this is how you pivot. This is how I changed my perception. Because I sat with those feelings. Why did I let this person back in when I left? Right? Because they only come back in to do your ass worse than what they did, what they left you with. Because once you try to discard a narcissist, they're going to come right back and show you that they think that they're the final boss. But understand, it's demonic, and anybody can get slapped with their fire, even the children. So I decided to let the person back in. Right? I end up getting pregnant. Once God had granted me something greater. Once God put me in position to get a better house. Once God allowed and sent a way better man into my life. A great provider into my life. I'm talking about great. Right? But let me show y'all how God's glory is. And how you are God in the flesh as well. Living this experience and this reality in this school earth, right? So at that point, once I realized what I had allowed back in, I said, ain't nothing changed. So if nothing changed here, then I'm going to keep myself in that repeated cycle of trying to make somebody be something for me when they simply got to do their work for themselves, when that masculine simply has to rise to the occasion. If he can't rise to the occasion, he can't be around me. And I know that about myself because I am a very strong woman in my own feminine right? Balancing my feminine and my masculine. Because my calling is much greater. I can't be around it. So let me move out the way. But once you move out the way, understand that you are now discarding that person again who feels like rejection instead of growth, right? Even though you want to center growth around them and remove yourself so they can do that, they view that as rejection. But let's talk about you. Then again, you allowed that to come back in, right? That was not for you, because the story of Lot's wife go like this. God gave her the opportunity to leave with her children and her husband, to leave and go to a better life while he was burning the whole city down. God said, don't look back or you will sure be stuck. You're going to turn into a pillar of salt. What did Lot's wife do? She started reminiscing. She started thinking about what was. She started thinking about her old life. She turned around. What happened? She got stuck. She stayed there because neuroscience, whatever you are comfortable with is what's going to keep regurgitating. So when you're comfortable, that brings familiarity. That breeds contentment, right? Familiarity, marriage breeds contentment. So now you're familiar because you feel comfortable in the life that you thought that you had, in the reality. But in all, God was giving you the opportunity to grow and be better. So now that you're at this point, sit with those feelings. Sit with those feelings. Don't beat yourself up, because when you love from your heart, that's all that matters for real. Because love, when you love from your heart, it ain't nothing wrong with it, because it's truthfulness, right? But now you have to use your discernment. Use your discernment and pivot. Neuroplasticity in the brain. I started studying Joe Dispenza once I realized what I was going through. He taught me this neuroscience that whatever your personality creates your reality. So now you need to change your personality. Change from being the woman that turned back and becoming a pillar of salt. Change yourself, right? Create new wave patterns in your mind by envisioning the woman that you want to become. Get up every day. Don't sit in your slumber. Make sure you sit with those feelings sometimes, but don't let that become your reality. Don't let that become a part of your personality, because the law of attraction says yes. The law of attraction only keeps repeating to you the same trauma that you have allowed yourself to sit in, right? You are there for a season to get your lesson and get out in order to shift into alignment. And God's grace for me was so beautiful. I still was able to become abundant because I decided to continue to do the work and send to God in my hurt and in my pain, right? And look, I'm telling you, I don't look like what I've been through. My kid's father left the children too, right? Because he felt like I was leaving him, right? I ended up, even through my pregnancy, found out he was getting people pregnant, right? And then a few months ago, I found out it was a baby that's a month younger than my baby that he abandoned too, right? He left out of town, stopped calling my children and all that. But guess what? When God removes something, that is not of God, right? So trust in God and trust in your experience that God is going to bring everything, right? I don't get $1. But guess what? What God has brought and God continue to provide through people in your life, let them be there for you. Change your thought, change your reality, because everything that you want and the woman that you're going to become requires you to leave that man. Pivot. The brain has the ability to change and create whatever it wants through neuroplasticity. Just like plastic can stretch, your brain can stretch and create new wires and networks to now create a new reality. Those same feelings of trauma that you keep feeling, you think about your future that you want to become, and guess what the brain would do? It would create and attract scenarios that bring that into reality and fruition. You keep being a divine woman. All right.